Hey everyone, this is Tim and Jordan. How's it going?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Jordan and I have been talking, and we've come across the same questions kind of over and over again. And so one that we get quite a bit is about finding deals, and we're seeing some common trends. So we thought we'd do a video on it.
Yeah, really, what we're seeing people struggling to find deals, and I think there's a few reasons why, but a big underlying reason why. So, what we're really seeing is people aren't taking the right actions to find a deal, and contacting a realtor, getting set up on an MLS search, all that. It's an awesome way to get started. That's a huge step. That's taking action. But after that, you need to take actions to move forward further. So.
And to educate yourself.
Yeah, right? To educate yourself. And Tim's going to talk a little bit about educating yourself. So.
Yeah. So what I see a lot from my people is when they come in is they're scared to make a mistake. They don't want to lose money. Totally reasonable, right?
Yeah.
It's fear. Fear is a great motivator, and frankly, it's well placed when you're new. But so then what they do is when they don't have the market knowledge, they just when they're analyzing deals, they try to get conservative on it. And that sounds great initially. You think, oh, great. Well, it's better than being the other way. And it sure is. But the problem is in this market, margins are skinny enough that if you start getting too conservative, there's no deals to be had.
Absolutely.
A couple examples I can give you is I see people, they might be 100 or two low on rent per unit, right? Well, that's going to end up being $200 to $400 low on rent overall, and that's
profit.
That's the difference between yes and no, right? Or another thing I see, and I mentioned this to Jordan, is a lot of the coaching out there in the different websites. They kind of will say when you analyze your expenses, you should use a percentage of the value, and that's not the way to do it. So it could be, and I've used this example before, but a water heater costs the same amount on a $400,000 house as it does a $100,000 house, but yet you're using a percentage, and so that water heater should be a really small percentage on that $400,000 house. It should be a much bigger percentage on the $100,000 house. But in many cases, they're using a number that's even higher than that in terms of what they're using for maintenance and or CapEx especially. And so it's just percentages for the most part. They're okay for a rule of thumb, but they're not accurate, and they're not going to get you where you need to be when you're finding a deal.
Absolutely.
I've analyzed our deals, and if you look at our monthly average, we average between 500 and 700 in maintenance costs per month over 9 buildings, not 9 units, 9 buildings. So you're looking at somewhere in the ballpark of $60 per building. Might be 65, 70 on the highest end. But let's just at $60 per building, you're looking at $30 per unit. I'm seeing people with more than double that in their estimates. So they more than double that, then they reduce their income by a significant factor, 10% or more, probably 15% on average. And but their expenses are double. Now all of a sudden there's no deal to be had. They're wondering how people are finding deals, yet Jordan and I are continuing to buy.
Yeah.
And proving we can make money. Not only are we buying, but I'm now selling and I'm making money on these properties that are about less than a full year and a half old.
And really, when you're looking at rents only vary so much in a certain area. So rents, let's say Northeast Minneapolis, both of us know that area pretty well. If you're estimating $1,100 for a 2-bedroom rent, that's just not accurate. Rents are not $1,100 in the area. They're anywhere from $1,300 to $1,500. So you could safely estimate $1,350 for a 2-bedroom unit. If you're saying, hey, I just want to be conservative and say $1,000, kind of being ridiculous. There's lots of people out there would love to have $1,000 rent, but it's just not a reality in that area. And the rents are only going to vary so much.
Yeah, and what's the consequence of being ridiculous and passing up on a deal? Well, if you do that in 2017 and you were too conservative in 2017, you lost about 5% from going from 17 to 18. And so on a $300,000 duplex, which is what a lot of them are, means you lost $15,000 in that 1 year. And if you've been conservative for 2 years, $30,000. That's what we're talking about.
That's a big deal.
And if you find diamonds in the rough, the number could be even more, right? So it does matter, and no one wants you to be optimistic, but you don't need to be conservative. You need to be accurate. really that means getting out there, like Jordan said, viewing these properties physically so you know what they're like, what they look like, what their spatially are. So when you start seeing the pictures, you can visualize in your head what they are, right?
Yeah, if you haven't been in, let's say, 20 properties, so you're not going to have a great idea of what a property should look like or what it should rent for, or really what the quality that is going on in the area. So if you're roaming around Northeast Minneapolis and you go in a place and it's really dated and just looks horrible, the area is commanding decent units anymore. So if you know that and you've been in 20 some odd properties in the area, you know, hey, I can make this nicer and get this amount of rent for it. But if you're just sitting on your MLS feed looking at properties, you're not going to have a very good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So really taking action means going out and looking at properties. And that's why people hire a realtor like me. They want to go out and look at properties. I know for a lot of people, it seems like you're wasting my time to go look at things that you're not real serious about buying, but you don't know how to be serious about buying it. You're not going and looking at properties. And that's, you know, I knew that when I chose the job. I knew that the job entails going out and looking at lots of properties. So don't feel bad about asking me to do the job I chose to do.
The other thing I'd ask them to do is, if you're waiting to find properties on the MLS, you're going to see 2, 3, 4 properties a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the max you're going to be able to analyze. And if you're analyzing in a certain neighborhood, like Northeast Minneapolis, you'll see 0 in most weeks.
Yeah.
Which means you maybe, in that case, if you're just near the Northeast, you might see 20 properties a year. Yet Jordan has access to sold properties. He can just run a report for you pretty quickly in the MLS. Get the last 100 sold properties in Northeast, or whatever, 50 sold properties. I'd recommend just doing 100, even if they're not all Northeast, just so you can get the practice in analyzing them. You'll see trends. You'll know 3 bedrooms in this neighborhood, I can get X amount for rent. I can pay X price. In the other neighborhood, I'm going to get Y rent, and I can pay Y price. And you'll be able to figure this out, so you can move very quickly. You're not wasting time at work. You're not wasting time wondering, and you're actually confident and not scared. Look, I know it's scary to buy properties, but once you get the knowledge, it becomes not so scary. Yeah. I'm no longer scared. You don't need to be. You've got people like Jordan to help you get to that point, but you need to get yourselves to that point.
Yeah. And that requires action. So you have to go look at properties. You have to analyze properties. You have to know what properties in the last 6 months are selling for. So really, you're a huge opportunity cost if you're just sitting around waiting for that great deal to hit your inbox. It's not going to happen.
Right. And just let's spend some time, if you need to, working on your assumptions. Schedule a meeting with me. Let's talk. Let's meet. Let's go through your assumptions and see where they're at. Because if you're using the wrong assumptions, you're just walking away from deals.
Yeah, and on that point, know what your mortgage payment will roughly be for a property in your price range. So if you're just estimating interest rates and estimating PMI and estimating what your taxes and insurance are going to be, there's no way to have any idea unless you talk to somebody like Tim and really figure out what your expenses are going to be, what your fixed hard expenses are going to be.
Right, and interest rates just went down, and we don't know. Yeah. By the time you watch this video, who knows what they'll be? But right now they're really low. So, yeah. What we'd like to do too, though, is educate you more on topics that you're interested in. So if you feel like there's a topic that you're weak in, and or a subject matter or something you want to learn about, please comment below so that we know what you want to hear on future videos. And if you've got questions about this video or other topics related to this, feel free to ask questions right below on that too, so that we can properly answer them and get you where you need to be, get you comfortable.
And don't feel tired. Don't feel bad about asking your realtor to go out and tour properties. So if you're working with me, give me a call, shoot me an email. You want to go tour some properties just to get a feel of what's out there, go right ahead.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah, enjoy your weekend.
Let us know if you have any questions below. We'll get to them whenever we can.
Yeah, sounds good. Take it easy.